So why has such knowledge been hidden from humanity? Well, we'll look at why each set of occultists hide this information. Okay, first let's look at why dark occultists hide it. Then at a later point we'll look at why even light occultists sometimes conceal this knowledge. Dark occultists have deliberately hidden occult knowledge in order to create and maintain a power differential between those who hold such knowledge and those who are ignorant of it. We've already been talking about that. And through this mechanism, all power ultimately flows to them because knowledge applied is power in the world. Knowledge is not itself power, it is the potential for power. When you apply knowledge, then you can gain power. If you don't have it, you're completely disempowered from the very beginning. Dark occultists work through fear and manipulation to bring about compliance with their own selfish will. And that's what I would consider the dark arts in general. I would consider sorcery the act of applying knowledge in order to bring about manipulation in other people so that they comply with your selfish will, what you want for you only, not for the uplift of all. Dark occultists' work is always done in secrecy. They don't want to do their works in the light of day where everyone can know what they're doing. They're constantly contravening the freedom and prosperity of all but themselves, of course. That's the out-of-control ego run amok, the pure left brain, modality of consciousness, without the balance of the sacred feminine, compassionate, creative right brain. I consider this pyramidal, hierarchical, and compartmentalized structure the occult structure of our entire world. Dark occultists have completely infiltrated and permeated all institutional walks of life on Earth. This is a topic I constantly talk about in my work, on my radio show, my podcast series, and in the interviews that I do. It's so important for people to understand this is who's really running the show here on Earth. It's not just the international bankers. It is them, but they're dark occultists at the highest levels. The people involved in the political think tanks are dark occultists at the highest levels. The people involved in, corporatism and business at the very highest levels use these sciences and this knowledge. The high-level religionists in all religion, all ostensible religions, guaranteed they have this knowledge at the highest levels and they're using it for dark purposes. People want to think, oh, that's not happening in my religion. That's going on in all the other religions, but mine is completely pure and free of any wrongdoing. Yeah. Through their manipulation of these institutions, dark occultists currently hold the overall mindset of the human population in a general state of unconsciousness, thus holding humanity in a state of slavery. They have the hordes of humanity in thrall. Okay? They are completely at their mercy at this point because of the amount of knowledge that they lack. Not only regarding what the occult is in general, but regarding the multifaceted array of mind control methodologies that are being used against them on a daily basis, that they're being barraged with. And until we level that playing field through knowledge, don't expect it to change. The two states that dark occultism wants to hold the overall population is what I call the mental schism and the worldview schism. Okay, they want to hold people in a state of chronic, imbalanced thought. And then they want to hold people in a chronically imbalanced overall worldview regarding human nature and life in general. If they can keep people in those modes of consciousness, they can keep their control over their behavior because they have control over their mind as a result. So the mental schism works through mind control methods, all multifaceted, soft mind control techniques that I covered over the course of about a year and a half on my radio shows. And in general, how it works is keeping people chronically imbalanced toward one type of consciousness or another, one type of brain activity or another. Either the masculine left brain modality of consciousness or the feminine right brain modality of consciousness, but never actually holistically bringing them both together in a state of balance. They want it in a chronic state of imbalance, such that most people are either always left brain or always right brained. If the left brain, the masculine component of the brain, the intellect, depicted here by the upward pointing triangle, which is an ancient archetypal symbol known as the blade, representing masculine energy, a rudimentary phallic symbol archetypally. If that part of the brain, that left hemisphere, is chronically dominant in an individual, the following states can manifest within that individual: rigid skepticism or scientism, atheism, and by atheism I simply mean the belief that there is no higher power than mankind, than humanity, that we're the pinnacle, we're the highest force in nature. Nothing ultimately governs humanity except the laws that we arbitrarily make up in this farce called government. Okay? So it can create rigid skepticism, scientism, atheism, solipsism, the notion that there is no such thing as actual objective truth that can truly be known. Social Darwinism, moral relativism. Moral relativism is the belief that there's no such thing as right and wrong objectively, that these are just arbitrarily chosen concepts and man gets to make up what's right or make up what's wrong. Social Darwinism, the idea that, since man is the highest pinnacle of mind, the highest animal in nature, that those who are somehow gifted with better genetics and a higher intellect should somehow rule over those who they consider beneath them or at some kind of a lower caste than them. And society naturally should be structured like that, with an elite class ruling over a class of slaves, basically. Eugenics, the notion that certain people's gene sets should propagate themselves, be allowed to propagate, and they should control what gene pools should be allowed to propagate. As the intellectual and genetic elite, then they want to control who gets to breed and who does not get to breed. Essentially, who lives and who dies. Authoritarianism, of course, this belief in authority, this illusion that some people are masters and others are slaves, and the masters get to issue commands and the slaves have some sort of a inherent moral obligation to obey these commands. It's what I call master think, ultimately. And, that's why they want to create this schism. It's a divide and conquer strategy. It's a very structured arch, you could look at it, where these two forces, combine and lean against each other. Left brain imbalance leans against right brain imbalance, creating a very rigid structure which is difficult to disassemble and take down because these forces play on each other. Right brain imbalance or feminine imbalance, the right hemisphere of the brain, which governs creativity, intuition, compassion, nurturing, etc. If that part of the brain that is depicted here by the symbol, the inverted equilateral triangle, which again is an ancient archetypal symbol known as the chalice, because it is a rudimentary womb. If that part of the brain is chronically imbalanced, or chronically dominant, I should say, these following states result: naivete, blind belief, religious extremism, total belief, total faith, not actually checking anything, not looking into things for oneself, taking other people's word on it. Solipsism, again, the belief that there's no such thing as truth. Both forms of mental imbalance can create that state. Moral relativism. You see so much moral relativism in the New Age movement. You think moral relativism is the exclusive domain of left brain imbalance. Think again, because people in the New Age movement are super right brain imbalanced in many cases, and you'll hear many of them saying there's no such thing as right and wrong. Those are religious concepts. I don't believe in those. So a right brain state of imbalance can lead to the belief that there's no such thing as objective right and wrong as well. Feelings of unworthiness, feelings of self-loathing, falling into patterns of following other people's orders, because hey, if you're naive, if you blindly believe, and you don't really believe there's such a thing as absolute objective truth, then I'm going to take somebody else's word for it. And if they say this is what's right to do, then I'm just going to go along, follow their orders. So many people are in that extremely imbalanced, dangerous state of mind. And I call all of this imbalanced thought slave think in general. And that's what the dark occult overlords right now at our time in history, that's what they want. They want these two states. They just want them operating all over society. They don't want anybody in a state of balance bridging these two modalities of consciousness and bringing them together. They want people in one state of imbalance or the other, so that those dynamics of master think and slave think continually play off against each other.